Previously in the creative room.
And today we are going to be learning how to draft half scale bodice block. Half scale bodice block. So let's get started. Welcome to the creative room, Soulmates. Today we'll be learning how to draft a full scale bodice. In the last class, we learned how to draft a half scale bodice, and today we'll be learning how to draft a full scale bodice. Now, to save ourselves a whole lot of stress, we are going to be using the half scale bodice we drafted previously to map out our full scale bodice. So if you don't know how we achieved this, I'm going to be dropping the link in the description box so you can go and watch it so that you know how we arrived at this half scale bodice. So now I'm going to be placing the front here, the front at the center front. Then I can place my scissors on it like this, and I'll also be placing the back this way as well, as you can see. Then we'll be needing our tracing wheel. Just this way. So with our tracing wheel, we are going to mark around the bodice. So I'm going to, it's very easy. Okay, so I will be removing it. I'm not sure you can see the marks, Soulmates, but I can see it. So I'll be using my marker pen to trace out the marks so that you can see very clearly. Okay, so I'm going to be connecting the curvy part with my curve. So now to the neck. So I'll draw the back neck as well, like so. So having done this, now for some people that may be wondering, how did I get this square when we started? Now I taught you how to draw out your square or your box when I was teaching the half scale body. You get this square by taking the measurement of the biggest part of your of the measurements you are using. The biggest part of my parameter is the hip. I'm using a hip 38, and so because my hip is bigger than my waist and my hip is bigger than my bust, so I'm going to get this square through my hip measurements. So my hip is 38. I added 2 to it to give me 40. So 40 divided by 2 is 20, and that is what you are seeing now, because these are half bodies. I marked 20 inches. Then if you check here too, the same 20 inches. You could do one, you could add just 1 inch to it, but because I want to show you how to put seam allowances around your block, that is why I added 2 inches to it, so that I will have enough space. So this is 20, and for the length, I did a length of 24. That's my blouse length of 24. That's what you're seeing here. So after doing that and you've squared out, you now get the midpoint of that 20, and what I have is 10. As you can see now, I have 10 here as well, 10 inches. Then you connect. So that was how I got the square. Now the next thing we are going to be doing is to take the measurement of our hip divided by 4. Now my hip is 38. 38 divided by 4 gives me 9.5. So I'm going to come down here and take my 9.5. Sorry, ignore this mark. I'm going to mark my 9.5. Then I'll repeat the same thing for this part as well. 9.5. So the next thing I'm going to do is to connect with a curve. I'm going to connect from the waist straight to my hip, or from the hip to the waist, in as much as there's a connection. So I'm going to connect like so. Having done that, so this is my hip line. So having done that, I would through and blend this part so that it won't be sharp. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to fix in my dart. Now my dart is going to be 6 inches. Okay, sorry, for this back, the back, remember, is going to be 2 inches shorter than the front. I'd already explained that in the half scale bodice, because of the bust dart and because of the back waist length. Our back have to be shorter than the front to avoid puff at the back. So now here it is 2 inches. So I have my 2 inches here. Sorry, this is my 2 inches. So I'm going to connect. So this is the length of my back. By the time we close the waist dart, the bust dart, you understand this better. So the next thing, like I said, is to insert my our dart, because the dart has to extend down. So now I'm still using the bust span divided by 2. My bust span was 8, divided by 2, I had 4 inches. So it's either I go up by 2 inches or I take 6 inches below my waistline. You can see that is the same thing. Either I go 2 inches up or 6 inches below my waistline. So after coming down 6 inches, I'll check if it's on my line of 4. If not, I'll correct it, as you can see. Then I'll connect. I'll connect. So as you can see, this is my dart. So I'm going to repeat the same thing for the front. So for the front as well, you either go up by 2 inches or you come down by 6 inches from the waistline. So here it is, 6 inches from the waistline. So this is what I have. Then I'm going to also check, am I on point? If not, I'll adjust. So I'm going to draw in my dart. So here is it. So the next thing I'm going to be doing now is to do the waist tightening, the back tightening for the back to eliminate any puff that is left. So I'm going to do a 50% waist tightening. Let's assume I didn't use the bust dart technique. Maybe I used the shoulder dart. Then I will do a 100% back tightening, which is taking 1 inch away from here. But since we are using the bust dart technique, I'm going to take away half of an inch, which is 0.5. So having done that, I'm going to connect to this part, connect back to the hip line. It's not going to get to the hip line, that's around where the dart stopped. Then I'll do this connection as well. I'm sure by now you should understand this if you watched the half scale bodice. So now I'm also going to through and blend, as you can see. So that is for that. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'll go ahead and insert the line, my shoulder line. I'll get the midpoint of my shoulder so that I can use it to close, I can open it up to close the dart. Yeah. Now, the next thing we are going to do is, like I promised showing you how to add your seam allowances around our bodice. So, let's go. On the side seam, this is the center back, remember, and this is the center front. This is the side seam back, side seam front. On the side seam, I like to add 1 inch, except if I'm working with a neoprene fabric or, you know, stretchy fabrics, I could play around ½ inch. So this is my 1 inch. Just add. Then down, I can decide to add, depending on how the kind of dress I'm making. If I'm folding, I can decide to add up to 1 inch or 1.5. But if I'm turning with a lining, then I will use I'll add a 0.5 of an inch. So that's ½ of an inch. Then for the armhole, I'm going to add ½ inch all around it. ½ inch all around, as you can see. And for the shoulder, I'm also adding ½ of an inch. Then for the neck as well, ½ of an inch, ½ of an inch. And for the back as well, for the zipper allowance, I'll be adding 1.5 or 1 inch. So when adding for the zipper allowance, you follow, you know, we have done ½ inch back tightening. So the shape of the back tightening, that's what you follow to add your 1 inch. So you don't make it straight anymore. You follow it just the way it is. So that is what I'm doing now. So I've had it. So I'm going to connect. I'm going to connect the points so that you can see it very well. So I'm going to connect the straight part with a straight ruler, and I'm going to connect the curvy part with a curved ruler. Still connecting. and that will be all. I'm going to indicate here zipper allowance. That will be all. So now I'm going to go ahead and cut out my pattern. So I'm done cutting. So here is the back pattern that we had already added our seam allowances. Now for the front. So don't forget, when we're doing the half scale bodice, I talked about closing the bust dart. So to achieve that, okay, here is the point. So to achieve that, we got the midpoint of our shoulder, what I have left here, the midpoint, and then we connected to this point. Then I slashed open. To that point, that very point. So having done that, we closed this like so. Then you tape down . So this is what we have. We have successfully closed. So you threw and blend. I left some excesses around it, so that will be on the safer side. So I'll trim off the excesses, as you can see. So now we have an equal front and back. Here it is. So one is no longer longer than the other since we have closed the bust dart. And like I told you in when we were doing the half scale bodice, you necessarily must not open the shoulder dart to close the bust dart. You can open the waist dart to close the bust dart as well. So this is our full scale bodice. This is our full scale bodice, and with this we have come to the end of this training. And in the next class, we are going to be treating the skirt block. So if you like this video, please like, share and subscribe, and click on the red notification bell so that you get a notification when we upload a new video. Thanks for joining again in the creative room. See you next week. Bye.